Hi, this is my video review of Deep Magic. What caught my attention about this book at first was that it had 733 new spells, but the book actually has a lot more besides that. It has a lot of archetypes and different rules that you can use to tweak or apply to your campaign. But well, let me talk about the quality of the PDF first. It has some pretty good illustrations like the one I just showed you. Let me show you a few more. Here we have another one. The entire book has a lot of evocative and cool scenes about magic. Here's another one. And the layout of the book is pretty good as well. Talking about graphic design, it feels like kind of like a magic tome, and the illustrations are pretty appropriate to each chapter and each spell or school of magic that each chapter is all about. And the book has a virtual table of contents, so it's pretty easy to navigate throughout the entire PDF. However, I would have liked a bit more specific hyperlinks, so the navigation could be even faster. The book starts with a foreword by Margaret Weiss, Amanda Hammond Kuntz, and Ed Greenwood, a piece of fiction by Ed Greenwood. And all of that is about discovering or rediscovering the sense of wonder and mystery of magic, because as players and GMs, we usually take magic for granted sometimes. We see it more like a technical thing or something to use according to certain rules and just to give a certain theme or color to the story. But we forget how magic is really mysterious and wonderful and pretty much unknown to humanoids and monsters even. So this book is all about rediscovering that sense of wonder and of power, of course, because all of the spells here are pretty amazing and can help you customize your character in pretty amazing ways. Well, the book starts with a chapter 1, of course, with new magic options. And these new magic options, they're pretty colorful and it has a lot of variety, because at first you may think that they are similar between them, like, oh no, that's just a rehash or just another paint job of this school of magic or of this type of clerical spell, but each has its own uniqueness, its own way that allows the character to interact with a certain environment, defeating enemies and frustrating the spells of other wizards and sorcerers. There's actually a pretty good one about using ink against them, but I'll get to that in a minute. Well, first we get angel and demon magic, and it's all about using the magical powers of angels and demons, not exactly calling or summoning demons and angels, but using what an angel or a demon would use when they cast spells. So you're going to be wielding the powers of heaven and hell. And you get battle magic, and of course you know what that is all about. It's about dominating on the battlefield. You get blood magic, which is empowering your spells by making blood sacrifices. You get chaos and wonder magic. Both of those are pretty random, and it has such a like a wild card feeling that you can turn the situation around because of some whim by chaos or wonder magic. You get Clockwork Magic. At first it sounds like something that manipulates time, but it's in a very subtle way. Clockwork Magic specializes or focuses on making constructs like golems and sort of living artifacts. You get Dooms of the Anti-Paladins, and well, Anti-Paladins, Anti-Paladins get some interesting choices. For example, you can actually participate in a sort of ritual where your character, your anti-paladin, has these big red eyes that intimidate everyone, and everybody suffers penalties when they try to attack him. You also get a Dragon Drake and Dragon King magic, which is all about, you should imagine, hardening your skin to get scales and using all sorts of elemental powers that a dragon would use through maybe fire breath or acid breath. You get full summonings, and the full summonings, it's also a pretty interesting magic because it's based on calling forth or summoning creatures and giving them special powers or advantages, but at a great cost. So for example, maybe you're going to summon a creature with enhanced combat capabilities, but it enters the combat in a confused state, and you get all sorts of penalties related to the powers that you will give that summoned creature. You also get gambling magic, and gambling magic, of course, it's based on luck, and you get some pretty crazy results by rolling some dice, and oh, if you get this number or that number, your spell suddenly gets really powerful. You get illumination magic, which is, it feels kind of like a school of illusion, but based on astrology. You, depending on of the time of the day that you cast the spell, or if there's a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, you get different effects with your spells. And you get ion stone magic. Now, I have yet to meet a person who doesn't love ion stones. Since Jack Vance created them, they have been a staple of fantasy role-playing games. And here you get the chance to work with those stones besides just releasing them so they spin around your character and to gain protection or different abilities and bonuses. Here you can even use your ion stones like a sort of a storm of ion stones. You can pummel or attack your enemy with stones or create barriers. You can feel like a master of the floating stones or something like that. And with Kobold Magic, you get spells related to what a kobold would use in Magic, with a sort of like a draconic but at the same time trickster feel. You get Leyline Magic, and this is also a pretty cool thing. Leyline Magic is basically about detecting the ley lines in your environment, and if you find a ley line and you cast a spell and channel the ley line's power, you roll a die, and depending on the power of the ley line, you may get a really powerful spell with added effects. And I have to tell you that most of these spells are very focused on the Midgard campaign setting. Of course, you can modify and apply all of these spells to any campaign setting. I've tried using them with the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, and it works pretty well. But you're gonna have to get used to that, of seeing these spells with a Midgard thematic feel, and you have to think of ways to adapt them to your campaign setting. You also get Magic of the Abyss, and this is about calling forth demons and summoning demons, which I told you before, it's different from the Angel and Demon Magic. This is not about what the spells that demons use, rather calling forth demons. And then you get living spell books, which are pretty much like intelligent magical items that can be good or bad, and they have their own whims and objectives. You also have Minotaur Magic. Minotaur Magic is what a Minotaur would use with all those spells related to crushing your foes and maybe manipulating labyrinths. You get Mountain Druid Magic for those druids that want to that thematic feel of being the guardian of a mountain. And you get Mythic Magic, and this is for the other book from Pathfinder. The name was Mythic Adventures. And with Mythic Magic, it's for all those over-the-top spells that basically put the characters on a demigod level or more. And you get Necrophagy, and Necrophagy is about feeding off the spirits of your fallen foes and empowering your spells with that. You get Ooze Magic, and this is more about Darrow and all those Underdark or underground races that worship ooze deities. And you can turn your body into ooze, or try to toss ooze at others and get through cracks. It's pretty interesting, pretty gross, but at the same time pretty useful in dungeons and underground places. You get Rakshasa Arcanum, all about magic that Rakshasa would use with a lot of illusions, but also devastating magical attacks. You get Ring Magic of the River Dwarfs, And this is one of the things that I like the most about the book, because in very few books they really don't explore the magical potential of dwarves. Dwarves have this like stigma around them that they are not good spellcasters or that they don't like magic. But this book empowers the dwarves so they can forge powerful rings, maybe even to rival the One Ring. So, and that's if you are planning on creating a dwarven magician or sorcerer or wizard, you can use this ring magic. And you get Saint's Magic, which is all about empowering your spells with the virtues of righteous men and women. You get Shield Maiden Magic, which is pretty defensive. It has some offensive capabilities, but it's all about protecting others, and females are the ones who use it more effectively. And you get Sound Magic, a lot of sonic-based attacks. Time Magic, this is about time manipulating the present and the past and the future. And Tomb Magic, it has a very powerful Egyptian feel to it. It's not only for mummies to use, but a sorcerer or a wizard who likes to explore tombs and all that. It could be cool to add some tomb magic scrolls, so the character feels, oh, I just discovered this ancient powerful ritual. Then you get True Curses. They have some drawbacks, but they are mostly to curse characters throughout the entire campaign. And now True Curses, I think, are pretty useful for the game master. So a few villains put a curse upon a group of heroes, and they have to overcome that curse. Maybe an entire campaign should be about overcoming that particular curse. But I could also see player characters casting these curses upon villains, upon major villains that will try to plague them and attack them throughout the entire campaign, so they get all these ugly penalties. And you get Underground Alchemy, which is it's a very unorthodox way of playing alchemy. More, of course, it's pretty thematic for underground races such as the Dare or maybe the Drow. And you get Brilliant Magic. Brilliant Magic is pretty interesting. It feels like a primeval magic, like the I don't know, like the lost brother of magic, or because it's like an antediluvian discipline, as if it was a magic pattern hidden from everybody else, and suddenly it pops out. And Real Magic is very flexible, because you can use it for both incredible protective and destructive powers. Then in chapter 2 you get all the new spells, and every class has a lot of spells. You get spells for alchemists, well, a formula for alchemists, anti-paladins, bards, clerics, druids, elven archers. And that's another thing I must tell you, that this book contains a lot of spells and archetypes and rules for classes that appear in other products from Cobalt Press. So you may probably feel tempted to get the other products, because otherwise you won't be able to use the Elven Archer spells or the White Necromancer spells. Of course, you could bend the rules a little and apply them to a normal Necromancer, or maybe an Arcane Archer from your own campaign. But I think it will be interesting to explore the potential of these spells, using them with the original classes, the classes that were supposed to use these spells in the first place. And again, you get in chapter 3 Symbolic Magic. And Symbolic Magic, I think they could have made the chapter a little bigger, because you get Aboleth glyphs and Rune Magic and Ink Magic, but I think they could have added more glyphs and symbols. It's all about tracing symbols and carving runes and getting special protection or modifiers and causing pain to your enemies through them. The most interesting is Ink Magic, because with Ink Magic you can manipulate the ink in maybe in a scroll or spellbook that an enemy caster is using, and the letters and the glyphs written in that scroll or book are going to attack the caster. I actually saw a pretty cool illustration about that. Let me see if I can find it for you. Just give me 1 second. Make that a minute, because it's taking a bit long to load. Here it is, Ink Magic. Sorry about that. It's taking a bit too long to load. Here we go. So this is the illustration I was telling you about. As you can see, the forecaster is trying to use his scroll, but all those tendrils of ink are attacking him. So I think it's a pretty cool concept, ink magic. And besides that, in chapter 4 you get words and incantations. In this chapter you get rituals, all about finding a sacred or magical space where you draw your circle and start chanting for hours, and your characters get these powerful spell effects beyond anything that you would cast in just a couple of rounds. So rituals are kind of hard to enact or use, because you need to find the right place and the right time and chant undisturbed for a few hours. But once the ritual takes effect, your characters are going to get a lot of powerful advantages and modifiers in their quest, and you can even use rituals to destroy enemies, of course. And the part about words of power, it's about that rule set explored in Ultimate Magic, where you, instead of using spells in the Bansian way, you arm or construct spells by combining different words of power, and you get a nice selection of words of power to create a lot of different spells. And then you get Bloodlines and Mysteries, and this is all about sorcerers and oracles. You have Aboleth Bloodlines, Drake Bloodlines, Ghoulish Bloodlines, Hag-Blooded, Hyperborean, Minotaur Bloodline, Mechanical Bloodline. You get a lot of bloodlines here, and mysteries as well. You get Clockwork Mysteries and Moon Mysteries, Old Gods Mysteries. You get a lot of things here with their respective powers and the revelations. And then you get in chapter 6 archetypes. Archetypes for almost every caster, mostly about clerics and wizards and summoners. And you get, for example, the Animist, the Astromancer, the Blood Mage, Chaos Mage, Clockworker. All of these archetypes are based or use the new magics described at first. And then you get Cultist of Charon, Demon Binder, Geomancer, Ionmancer. Oh, and this is the Ring Warden. This is the Dwarven Wizard archetype I was telling you about. All about creating rings and empowering and using a very cool staff that has little rings hanging from it. And then you get the Timekeeper, Real Adept, Real Bound, so many things. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in this book you get a lot of different Ion Stones. If you thought you didn't have enough Iron Stones before, you get Ion Stones with different abilities and pretty unique. You also get a chapter 7 about magical constructs, but this is mostly focused on homunculi and familiar magical items, because you can create magic items for your familiars, but a lot of them have drawbacks. They give bonuses to your familiars, but at the same time they come with a small penalty sometimes. And it feels a bit like what I told you about before about the full summoning spells. And you get Listlings, which are a new type of familiar. They're kind of like small humanoids covered in spikes. And you get more rules about crafting undead for those alchemists or wizards who want to feel like Dr. Frankenstein. And in chapter 8 you get a lot of cool NPC spellcasters to add to your campaign. However, I must warn you that some of them are races that appear in other products of Cobalt Press, so once again you're going to be feel a bit tempted to get those products. Well, let me tell you what I think about the entire book. I think this is a pretty good book, and it gives a lot of options for your spellcasters. Because the coolest thing about Pathfinder, at least for me, is all the customization options. There's an infinite variety of ways. No character is going to be the same, and here you get all those choices, all those new schools of magic, all those clerical domains, all those new styles of magic, words of power, and you can mix and match and customize your way for a powerful and thematic character. all those archetypes are really cool, and the spells, at least from what I've read about them, and the little that I know, because the list is just huge, 733 spells, they look somewhat balanced. I can't tell you, like, yeah, they have perfect balance, but they look pretty well, pretty good. They don't overshadow over other spells, and they don't feel weak. And each of them has a different theme and use. Now, I really can't think of an important negative part of this book. Maybe because it's a bit too focused on Midgard, it's going to be it's going to take a bit of creativity to adapt them seamlessly into your campaign, and maybe some of the spells and the NPCs, because they are they are based on races of the other Kobold Press products. You're going to feel tempted to buy the other books. But other than that, this is an excellent book, and it feels like kind of like the companion for Ultimate Magic. It's sometimes, in some aspects, I think maybe it surpasses Ultimate Magic. And so there's really not a good reason not to get this book. This book should be in your collection if you have Pathfinder and you love playing as a wizard or as a sorcerer or as a game master. If you like to use villains with powerful and colorful spells and with a lot of variety and mystery to them, you should definitely get this book. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please type them down and I will read them. See you later.